In the heart of a bustling city, under the glow of neon lights, you find yourself at a crossroads. Every decision we make shapes who we are, but what if some decisions feel like they're being made for us? Imagine walking down this street, decisions about where to go for dinner, which way to turn next, or how long to linger before moving on. Now picture a different scenario, you stand at the same crossroads, but your mind feels clouded. The choices that once felt clear now seem muddled. Why do some decisions feel easier than others? What if there's something deeper influencing our choices beyond just what we consciously think? Meet Alex and Jordan. They both face similar situations on this street, choosing between a cozy cafe or the lively bar down the block. But their paths diverge because of subtle influences that affect how they make these decisions. Alex, in many ways, is your average person, thoughtful, empathetic, and cautious about making choices. But Jordan's journey takes an unexpected turn. He finds himself drawn to the bar more often than not, more impulsively, less cautiously, and with a certain air of confidence that might seem almost unnerving at times. This isn't just a story about two people, it's a tale of hidden forces shaping our decisions. You see, behind every choice we make lies a complex web of psychological traits known as the dark triad: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. These aren't monsters from horror movies but subtle influences that can subtly guide your life. Narcissists believe they are special and entitled to more than others. They seek admiration and often manipulate situations for their own gain. Think of them as the friend who always wants to be at the center of attention, even if it means stepping on others' toes. Machiavellians prioritize power over everything else, they're strategic in every move they make, willing to use any tactic to get what. As we delve into the world of psychology, we find ourselves navigating through a landscape where decisions are made not just by our conscious mind but also by hidden forces that often remain out of sight. Among these hidden forces is something known as the dark triad, a set of personality traits characterized by manipulation, callousness, and a lack of empathy. To understand this better, let's first look at what makes up the dark triad: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Each trait operates on its own, yet they often overlap to create a complex tapestry that influences our behavior in profound ways. Narcissists are driven by a deep-seated need for admiration, often leading them to seek validation through others' approval or success. Stories of their own making. They thrive on attention and can be extremely self-centered, sometimes at the expense of those around them. Think about someone who always wants to talk about themselves, disregards your feelings, or constantly seeks praise. Machiavellianism is another piece of this puzzle. Named after the Italian political philosopher Niccolò Machiavelli, it refers to a person's ability to manipulate others for personal gain without regard for moral considerations. These individuals are often shrewd and cunning in their dealings with people, willing to use any means necessary, be they subtle or overt, to achieve their goals. Psychopathy is perhaps the most chilling aspect of the dark triad. People who exhibit psychopathic traits tend to be callous, remorseless, and impulsive. They lack empathy and emotional intelligence, which can make them particularly dangerous in social interactions. Imagine a person who shows no concern for others' well-being or feelings. They may even engage in criminal activities without any guilt. These three traits don't exist independently but often intertwine to form what is known as the dark triad. Together, they create a dynamic where individuals can be highly effective at manipulating and exploiting situations to their advantage. However, in the vast landscape of human behavior, there exists a curious constellation of traits that often fly under the radar. These are the dark triad traits: manipulation, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Each one operates like an invisible thread, weaving its way through our decisions and interactions without us always realizing it. Imagine stepping into a room filled with mirrors. At first glance, everything seems normal. But as you look closer, the reflections start to warp and twist. These traits are much like those distorting mirrors, hidden yet profoundly influential in shaping not just individual choices but entire social dynamics. Manipulation begins with a gentle nudge, an artful suggestion that can make us question our own judgment. It starts subtly, often by appealing to our desires or fears. For example, you might find yourself agreeing to do something because someone made it sound like your idea in the first place. This is a common tactic used not just by manipulators but also by advertisers and politicians. Machiavellianism takes this a step further with a cold logic that often prioritizes self-interest over others' well-being. Think of it as a game where the rules are constantly shifting, and you must adapt to win at any cost. People who exhibit high levels of Machiavellian traits might manipulate situations for personal gain without feeling remorse or empathy. Psychopathy adds another layer to this mix by introducing a lack of emotional connection. A psychopathic individual may seem charming on the surface but lacks genuine feelings, making them capable of exploiting others in ways that feel almost unnatural. They can be incredibly persuasive and convincing, often leading us to question our own instincts when we interact with them. Together, these traits form a complex web of influence that can subtly shift our decisions. But understanding how they work is the first step towards recognizing their presence and mitigating their impact on your life choices. Consider for a moment, how many times have you found yourself swayed by someone's words or actions without? In the shadowy corners of our minds lie traits that often go unnoticed but significantly influence how we make decisions. These are known as dark triad traits, namely narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Let's delve into these hidden forces to understand why they can shape your choices in unexpected ways. Narcissists believe the world revolves around them. They crave admiration and often feel entitled to special treatment. Imagine if you were constantly seeking validation from others, every decision might be influenced by a desire for praise or attention. A narcissist may choose a career path not because it's practical, but because it will make their friends envious. Machiavellianism involves manipulation and strategic thinking. Think of the character in your favorite book who always seems to have an ulterior motive behind every action. These individuals are skilled at reading people and situations, using this insight to control outcomes that benefit them. In a high-stakes negotiation, for instance, someone with strong Machiavellian tendencies might make decisions based on predicting their opponent's next move rather than purely logical reasons. Psychopathy is often associated with a lack of empathy and remorse. Psychopathic individuals tend to be cold-hearted and unemotional, which can lead them to make choices that disregard the consequences for others. Consider a situation where someone must decide whether to invest in a failing business or a struggling friend's startup. A psychopath might choose the former, seeing it purely as an opportunity rather than caring about their friend's feelings. Together, these traits form a complex tapestry of decision-making influences. It's important to recognize that while they can be detrimental when unchecked, understanding them helps us navigate our own behaviors and those around us more effectively. Let's take a step back and look at why this knowledge is crucial for intelligence and decision-making. Imagine you're playing a game where every move depends on anticipating the moves of your opponent. In psychology, we call these strategic interactions. In today's fast-paced world, making decisions can feel like navigating a complex maze. We encounter choices every moment of our lives, big or small, and often the paths we choose lead us to unforeseen outcomes. But have you ever stopped to consider that some of your decision-making might be influenced by traits beyond conscious thought? Enter the dark triad, 3 personality traits known for their negative impacts on relationships and society at large. The first trait, Machiavellianism, is often associated with cunning manipulation. Imagine a chess game where every move you make isn't just about winning but also about leaving your opponent in a precarious position. This strategic thinking can be advantageous when negotiating or strategizing, yet it can also lead to deceit and betrayal. Next up, we have narcissism, which might sound familiar from the stories of Greek mythology. A narcissistic individual is often self-centered and believes they are superior to others. Picture someone who constantly needs to be in the spotlight, always seeking validation through praise or admiration. While this trait can fuel ambition and drive, it also creates a sense of entitlement that can harm relationships. Finally, we have psychopathy, a term often used interchangeably with sociopathy. These individuals lack empathy and remorse, making them adept at manipulating others without feeling guilt or shame. Think of someone who might bend the rules to their advantage without batting an eyelid. This trait can be highly effective in environments where loyalty isn't required, but it's also dangerous when dealing with people who need support and care. The dark triad traits are a mix of these three characteristics: cunning manipulation from Machiavellianism, relentless self-focus from narcissism, and lack of empathy from psychopathy. Together, they can create an environment where decisions are made not for the greater good but to satisfy personal desires or gain advantages at any cost. Now, how does this knowledge impact your everyday life? Understanding these traits can help you recognize patterns in behavior that might be causing. As we've journeyed through the complex world of dark triad traits, narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, we've seen how these powerful forces can influence our decisions. But remember, understanding them doesn't mean you're a victim or that others are villains. It's about recognizing patterns in behavior so we can make smarter choices. Narcissism often manifests as an inflated sense of self-importance and a need for admiration. In everyday life, this might look like someone who always needs to be the center of attention or feels entitled to special treatment. But knowing that these traits can cloud judgment helps you set boundaries and avoid situations where your values are compromised. Machiavellianism is all about manipulation and cunning. People with high levels of Machiavellianism might use tactics like lying, betrayal, or coercion to get what they want. Recognizing this in others, or even yourself, can help you navigate relationships more effectively by being wary when trust isn't earned. Psychopathy involves a lack of empathy and remorse, making it harder for these individuals to form genuine connections or understand the impact of their actions on others. Understanding psychopathic traits can guide us to prioritize ethical behavior and seek out those who value integrity in our social circles. By acknowledging the presence of dark triad traits in ourselves and others, we gain a powerful tool: self-awareness. Self-awareness enables you to step back from situations, assess your emotions, and make decisions based on logic rather than impulse. It's about choosing to act with compassion, honesty, and integrity even when it might be easier to give in to darker impulses. Consider this example: imagine someone who often manipulates friends or colleagues for personal gain. While they might succeed in the short term, their actions can erode trust over time. Recognizing these patterns allows you to make a conscious choice, perhaps setting boundaries, distancing yourself from harmful behavior, and finding healthier relationships that foster mutual respect. Moreover, growth is a ladder, not a leap. Subscribe and keep climbing.